Hi Libra, it's Veroosh. Welcome to my channel, and this is your reading for the weekly. It's supposed to be 11th through the 19th. It's sort of a last minute reading, but I'm doing it for you until the 22nd so that you get a full week's worth of info in. Just update the timelines. The reason I chose this order, first, I decided to do the weeklies, which I don't usually do, last minute. The reason that I did that was I was looking at your transits and I just felt it was warranted, meaning there's a lot of astrological stuff, turbulent, not turbulent in a bad way, but lots of turbulent water up ahead, meaning there's a lot of changes up ahead for all of us. And so I wanted a closer play-by-play. I already did a weekly video for the all signs. It's located here, but it didn't go into detail for each sign how to interact with the energy. So on a good week, on a regular week, less busy week, we don't have so much coming and going of frequency. This week you need to be aware of some things and know how to use them to the best of your ability for growth and prosperity. And then I'll talk to you about the transits next week that are a sharp diversion from this week's transits. So yeah, you want to stay tuned for that. That's important. So we'll do Lenormand, astrology, and tarot. I kind of got overzealous with that a bit because to me it's like, oh, I'll just throw down some cards and you'll get a reading. But the thing is, when I'm doing it, like if you look at Sagittarius, it came in at 43 minutes long. And so it's like a trade-off between being too short and not explaining things well, and then some people will not understand what I'm referring to, or getting long-winded and then losing the attention of people who just want a shorter reading. So I prefer the mid-range readings because I feel like they're the sweet spot for me. But today's reading might go long, although it's not my intention. But it's just when I'm doing the second week part, I'm just noticing the way of explaining it is so long-winded, just like this intro. Hey girl, hey. But the other thing that I just got as a download as I started doing your reading was it's like an opportunity for us to reconnect, and so this is good. So we have the man. So first Lenormand for just intro. This is my deck. It has several extra cards. We have the moon. The other thing, Libra, is that for you, it's a very important week. It's not as important in terms of transits. That's why you are not at the top of the list. Usually I choose people at random or the signs by random. But this time it was based on astrological need, birds. Let's give it a cut. And the knot. So this is one of my favorite cards, the unity knot. Okay, so there's gossip around, and when I'm looking at your chart, I think that it's very impactful for you. So I think there'll be lots of good information here. So I feel as though, I don't know if you're hearing news about the fact that somebody wants to be closer with you. Like there's gossip that there's attraction towards you from someone. Or I feel like there's gossip about your interaction with someone. If you've met someone new, I feel like there's people talking. In the recent past, or the energy that's affecting the present moment, is a deep attraction between two people, a man and the moon. And so the moon in the Lenormand is not like in the tarot. It has a lot more to do with aesthetic and beauty as opposed to deception or like, underworld, shadowy stuff type of thing. So it's just pure attraction and joy and happiness, and I hope you have that happiness in your heart at this time. The upcoming energy becomes a little bit dispersed, and I think that there'll be other people involved in whatever situation you're dealing with at this time, and that's going to feel vulnerable, and it's going to feel like a lot of people have something to say. But the ultimate outcome, if you're wondering, is some type of connection / commitment between people. And so that's coming in. Okay. So let's talk about the astrology. So far we're doing better with than Sag in terms of time, so bear with me. So like I said, we've already passed some of the transits I talked about, I made this video for. Just look back to the last 2 days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, to see what that energy was for you, okay? So pay attention in retrospect and see if something happened. Maybe we'll go through those transits first and then we'll get to the one that's upcoming for you. Okay, so the main thing that happened this week, it already happened, was Venus and Mars joined in Leo. And so that conjunction happened in your 11th house of friendship. On Sunday to Monday, the moon was also in this position. And so it became a stellium. And so something about where your passion is could have begun, or something came to pass, like a situation in which a passionate exchange happened. Since it's in your 11th house, a passionate exchange between you and a friend could have happened. But just remember, with this energy, don't expect everything up front. Some things may come to a peak. If you're in the middle of a situation, then maybe this will come through. But also, I feel like for many of you, this is beginning a pattern that is not going to be yet apparent. What you could have noticed on Monday or Tuesday is awareness, like you're feeling passion towards a friend, or maybe someone said something to you and it felt peculiar, like they were trying to tell you something else, like their true feelings. This pattern is going to continue until next year. So there's going to be 2 more conjunctions between Venus and Mars in the next 6-7 months. And so ultimately the 3rd conjunction will be in your 5th house of romance. Like I said in the intro, more info on that is in here, and then also in your Love in 2021 playlist. But this comes through in the 8th house. And so I feel like in some way you're coming back into the world with the rest of us. I know whenever we say, oh, Libra is such a social sign, there's a lot of Libras that are introverted. Totally okay. But I feel like you're still in demand socially, wherever you are. It's a social kind of, you radiate that type of attraction and you get people's attention. And so I feel like these transits at this time through this area of your chart are bringing you back in. If we go back, I don't know how long you've been watching my channel, but going back about 3 years, you started getting into some pretty intense frequencies, right? Like there was things that were occupying your time and mind that were taking you away from the present. And so I feel like it's been a process of you coming back. And there was a break in which I didn't post very much. So looking at your chart in more detail now, it feels like this conjunction between Venus and Mars is actually bringing you out of your shell. I almost called this video bringing you out of your shell, coming back around to people in the same way that you were used to, or the more common way that you socialize. And that doesn't mean necessarily friends only. It means just like your social positions coming around. And expect that to happen more pronounced way once Venus and Mars start hitting Libra. That's not going to be long from now, because Venus is just going to jump into Virgo. Venus is a super fast transit, and so within about 6 weeks she's in Libra, even less than that. I'll let you guys know ahead of time. But when Venus and Mars start coming through in your 1st house, then I feel like Libra personality comes out. And so the moon, the beautiful moon of Libra, you know, your beauty shines. The moon in the Lenormand represents beauty. So yeah, very, very beautiful transit. Okay, so we have Mars and Venus happening on the 13th and with the moon on the 12th. Look back to Tuesday and Monday, Sunday possibly, and see how you're doing. See if anything stands out. The second transit that's very important this week is a series of water frequencies that are working together. And I have the chart in which the second grand water trine the first grand water trine happens. So let me introduce this water energy. Water energy has a lot to do with emotions, our hearts expanding this week and feeling so much more. And so we have Sun conjunction with Neptune on Monday next week. And then we have not conjunction, trine Neptune next week. And Mercury in a trine with Jupiter this week early on. So when you get this video, it's still happening on the 14th of July. And placements in Scorpio will be completing this. Many Libras have placements in Scorpio, so especially the Mercury-Jupiter trine at the beginning of this week, 12th, 13th, 14th of July, will be very impactful for you. But there is a transit at the weekend, 17th and 18th of July, in which the moon enters into Scorpio, and these grand water trines will be completed through the weekend. So the grand trine between Jupiter, Mercury, and the moon will happen on Saturday, July 17th, and the second trine will happen with the moon, Neptune, and the sun on the 19th of July. This is in your second house of money, the sixth house of work, and 10th house of persona, of your public image, of your public works, of your career. And so these are your money houses, right? And they have to do with your place in the world. And so imagination is key. Expansion, do what you love. If you're not doing what you love, you feel that deeply at this time, your passion draws you towards the direction you're meant to go in. And your moon will complete those transits. So it's a heart-opening transit that makes you feel with a lot of emotion about where your place is in the world. And if you're far away from where that is, you will feel a great need to go there. Maybe not physically, but so for example, if your passion is teaching, at this time you will feel that whether you're a teacher or not. And if you're not a teacher, you will feel very called to do that. This combines with the third transit that I want to highlight for you guys this week, and the reason you're getting your video today, and that's the conjunction between North Node and Aldebaran on the 15th. So this has again to do with awareness, of focus of which direction you need to go. And so you're feeling the water sign energies that I just described are increasing through this first week, through the 12th, through the 17th. They're just increasing, and you're going to feel more and more passion and more emotions about where you stand with work and with your career and your money. And so in parallel to that, another transit is the North Node with Gemini, conjunct the star Aldebaran, which is hyper-focus and attention and awareness of who you are and where you're meant to go. I've talked about this a lot, but the reason I'm mentioning it here now is the true node, the true point of the North Node, is conjunct Aldebaran on the 15th of July, and will be with it the rest of July, but the high point is on July 15th. So all this month of July, we're really aware of who we are. And for you, this transit is extremely powerful in the 9th house of awareness. 9th house is the house of Jupiter. It's the house of education, higher thought. And so you have awareness of which direction is your true node, is your true path. On that same day, on 15th of July, Chiron goes retrograde. Thank goodness, because anything that you feel that is holding you back, particularly with regard to partnerships and history with partnerships, we'll talk about that in a minute, is subsiding with the retrograde. So it's getting a little bit more tempered, a little bit more quiet. And a sextile is very nice between the North Node and Chiron, because in some way you feel less held back from daydreaming. That's where the Sun trine Neptune come in, and the moon on the 19th. So openness, mind open with the North Node, heart open with the Sun and Neptune. And with Chiron retrograde, you don't feel as self-conscious. You don't feel as thwarted by your circumstances. And in your situation, this position has to do with partnerships. So what kind of partnerships did you have in the past? How did they hold you back? What did they hold you back with? How did they hold you back from being you, you know? So talking about Chiron a bit more, the retrograde period in your 7th house, what that's going to really entail is for you a break from pressures of relationships that you are in right now or from the past, and the consequences of those pressures. Relationships are trade-offs, right? And so they teach us a lot about ourselves. They mirror ourselves to us a lot. Chiron in the 7th house, right? But then when the retrograde period happens, those consequences become less intense, especially the ones that we feel are somehow holding us back from who we could have been. So for example, you don't go to the college you want to go to because you want to be with your boyfriend at the college he's at. And so that changes your life, and you grow up a little bit more and you realize that that action, the choice of partnership with your boyfriend, affected who you are at this point in time. So it's sort of kind of your choices or how they treated you for others. But Chiron retrograde makes that feeling of what could have been lesser. And so therefore you can be more optimistic and open-hearted towards the possibilities from here on in. Remember, no matter how old you are so young. Look back 10 years from this point in. How were you back then? You were a baby. This is how you're going to think about yourself now in 10 years from now. So I feel like for you, this is the energy. The freedom to choose, the title of today's video, has a lot to do with that. This freedom of circumstance, freedom from relationships and being held back. And you have this very open-ended, open-hearted energy that gives you so much possibility in your career. You're just still such a baby. You still have so much ahead of you, and you can start today, or you can start this week. So this week is very expansive in that way, in that it brings a lot of hope and optimism. It has just very open-ended energy. I want to add that the moon will be in Libra between the 15th through the 17th, and form an opposition to that Chiron transit we were just talking about. When it forms an opposition to Chiron on the 16th, we have an ambulance, hold on. When it forms an opposition to Chiron, on the 16th, I think that you will gain more strength. I feel like if you are a person who's struggling with the consequences of relationships on your life, that your life was somehow tempered by choices you've made within relationships or what was done to you, this is an alleviation of that pressure. And when the moon forms its opposition on the 16th of July, you will come to terms with it or have some peace for now with it. Chiron retrograde lasts for 4.5 months, something like that. It's a long time. And so you get a nice big break to let go of the worry or the anxieties that these relationships left you with. Okay? So now I'm going to talk about more turbulent energy. So if you're triggered by this, jump to the tarot. I understand it's not always, sometimes we're just not in the mood, but I am going to cover some of the energies now that might be problematic or more intense. Okay? So thanks for staying. If you're watching, hi. I'll try to be gentle. And frankly, it's not that bad. I'm trying to kind of separate the darker astrology from the general astrology more, because some people just, if you're going through something, you don't want to hear about Lilith, which I'm about to tell you now. Good segue, Veroosh. So on the 18th, Lilith moves into your 9th house. And Lilith in Gemini, for you especially, be careful for tit for tat and getting into it with someone, especially over big ideas. Things can get very mean and hostile with this transit, and you could have the experience that somebody's trailing you behind, constantly trying to like depress your intellectual capacities by trying to put you down, by making you look like a fool. And so Lilith will be in Gemini from the 18th of July until April 22nd, 2022. But remember, with this Lilith transit, because I said this to Sag, I'll say it to you. We talk about Lilith, yes, we talk about the transit. I've been talking about the transit because of the conjunctions it was making for the last several years. But in my opinion, Lilith is not it's not as powerful as a planet. It's not as powerful as the sun or the moon or anything else. So don't get too disheartened by the fact this transit is here. We're all going through it. It's a minor energy. And there's a lot of talk on the internet about it, but it's sort of unimportant in terms of astrology. So don't feel like it's going to ruin your life. This is just another way astrology helps us to strategize and make sure we're okay and avoid, difficult situations. So for you, it's like essentially avoid arguing with people over facts. Don't show someone off intellectually. Like don't try to do that. Lilith may want to provoke you to do that, right? To show off like your guy friend, male egos. And then you have an enemy for life, or provoke the wrong person. And like I said, they could trail you and try to watch everything you do in order to try to destroy your effort. So stay away from this frequency. It's a bad vibe. It's not cool. It's not going to hurt you, but you can be mindful and avoid some unpleasantries by being aware of it. And so let's bring it out to the rougher energy now. So Lilith is mean, but not a big deal. The rougher energy this week is really to do with the fact that last week, or this week that we're in, the 12th through the 17th, there's all these warm energies, like the water energy opening up the heart and all these positive things. But then there's a quick 180 on the weekend of the 17th and 18th. Lilith is one part of it, right? Becoming mean and like name calling kind of frequency, like snake tongue, that's what I call it. Just rough in Gemini. But much better than Taurus, I think, because in Taurus we've seen a lot of violence with that transit. So, I rather argue than punch any day of the week. But on the 17th, when you're having your grand water trine, right? I was telling you about heart-centeredness and career openness and wishful thinking, hopeful thinking, optimism. You have an opposition between the sun and Pluto, right? 10th house to the 4th house of home. If you get held back by Pluto in your home some way, so something around the house is holding you back from your career, your public life, there will be a pushback on that day. And it depends on how intense that holdback is, because for everybody it will be different. It depends on how big that holdback is, how strong the sun pushes back. In relation to the sun, the Pluto is not a powerful transit. It's a very powerful transit in itself, but in comparison to the sun. So the sun forms this opposition once a year. And so it says, boom, here you go, Pluto, I'll kick your butt. And so it checks Pluto. And it depends on how strong this factor in your life, in your home, is holding you back from. It's almost like a kid whose parents won't let them get out of the house, And the stricter the parents, the bigger the rebellion. So if you have Libra, sun, moon, or rising children, especially sun or rising, watch out if you're strict. Be careful this weekend because you might get some attitude. But it can be it for you as well. So good luck with that. So the difficulty in this frequency is that last week, the 12th through the 17th, is so open and welcoming. And then suddenly there's this strong opposition, putting your foot down and being kind of stubborn Okay? And then Lilith at the same time on the 18th, switching into Gemini. So be wary of that. And then next week, this is what the other people didn't hear about. I'll tell you about next week because it's necessary. Next week, the frequency gets even more controversial because Mercury and Chiron, Mercury in Cancer and Chiron in Aries, entered, here it is, it's the square, right? And so again, how you speak will come into confrontation with your relationship with your partners. And there may be a conflict of interest between what you want to say and what you should say because of your partnerships. You might feel stuck. Venus starts forming her opposition to Jupiter. Jupiter's in your 6th house. Venus will be in the 12th. Again, personal feelings coming into conflict with your outside world, Libra. That's for you specifically. What you want will stand against what the outside world wants. So you can see how it's the complete flip side of this week, right? So this week it's like it's all encouraging. Angels are encouraging you to think of your perfect career. Your heart's opening up. You're told to, embrace the sun and be hopeful again. So you walk out like, I'm so happy. I'm so joyful. And then this weekend comes around. It's like, boom, you have to fight for it. And then next week, everything sort of starts pushing back against your will. But that doesn't, next week, don't let next week get under your skin. That's what I'm telling you. Don't let next week get under your skin and make you frustrated. It's really just the transits that are going to show up and be frustrating. The energy of this week, this openness and hopefulness, and get in touch with those feelings. Those feelings have purpose, and those feelings will persevere. What's life without opposition? You can't appreciate the sweet without the sour. So let's see if there's a house that the dice is saying we should pay. What first house? Your personality. So what did we say about Venus and Mars? About your chart. Let me show. So you don't have to hurry, in other words, Libra. This week may feel like you want to take over the world and go for it. Take your time. Next week, there will be frustrations, so deal with those. But the real effect of this week will come through when Venus enters into Libra. That's when you start receiving, once again, this lots of attention. You see the sun is about to enter into Leo. It's finished its transit in the upper area of your chart. And so now you're going into a more introspective. Now you're networking with friends for a month, but a moment of more pulling back, and then you step out when the Venus and Mars start entering into Libra. So in other words, don't rush it. If you get frustrated next week, don't sweat it, because it's not permanent, and it's just like conflicts of interest showing they're showing themselves. Okay, so let's talk about tarot. I know you guys love tarot so much. And here I am with my nerding out on astrology, right? But I hope it helps. I like astrology as a strategy sort of thing. And this week is a perfect example of how you should, use it as such. Be aware of like what will come up, pressures and so forth, and use them wisely. Astrology can't, you can master astrology in the sense that you can master living, with astrology. Through astrology, right? And therefore, it's like when you know psychology, you can't really be upset with anyone because you understand what their motivations are. When you understand astrology, you can make mistakes or things can happen, but very often you can navigate it. That's a navigational system. Okay, I'm your captain after all, right? Okay, so here we go. We have the world, which is Saturn frequency right up front. And that's Pluto in the 4th house right away. Boom. And I feel like, Chiron's in a cardinal sign in Aries. The sun, cardinal signs are lit up. And since you're the 4th cardinal sign, you don't have transits, but your placements in Libra are creating grand crosses, right? With all the other cardinal signs. So, it is what it is. It's a little bit of an oppositional energy. It's a little bit of pushback to what you want. You're not the only one deciding here, this week. Anyway, you can be the boss. Have you ever heard this? I'm a Virgo, but between Virgo and Libra relationships, it's always Libra's lead and Virgos kind of are the supportive energy. So it's like you get this frequency. So let's see the first 3 cards and talk about it. So we have the World, Page of Swords, and the 9 of Pentacles. 9 of Pentacles is Venus in Virgo. Page of Swords can relate to Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, or Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. That's just a general guide. Okay, so I feel as though there's something new that you want to take on in the world. And I think that it's something that's quite fresh and new and you're excited about it. And going through your astrology now, what I see is not that you can't have it. It's just about timing. I think that you're eager to have it, which may leave many of you disheartened when you face complications to just receiving it easily. But I think you'll need to work for it for the next few months. And I think that the destiny is a financial success and freedom. So you're choosing freely here. But when we choose freedom, when we choose freely ourselves, then sometimes other people have opinions about that, because other people maybe are not free to choose and they're triggered, or maybe they benefit from you complying to their agenda. And so again, they're not happy about you choosing a different path. Here is the next message. We have Virgo the Hermit, or maybe this is more you the Hermit, okay? So you're beginning a path on your own, and in some way you're separating yourself. I didn't highlight this in the astrology. You're separating yourself from partnerships and home. That does not mean that you're going through a separation or divorce. It just means on an emotional level, you're pulling back towards yourself. And I think that many of you have been overgiving into the home and into your partnerships. And now you're taking it back on your own terms a bit more, okay? Then we have the 8 of Cups. Yeah, you're definitely walking towards your own destination here. And then let's see, 8 of Cups is ruled by Saturn. We have Saturn all over the place. I'll show you in a minute. We have Mr. Devil, okay, Mr. Devil, Biese. But this is you sort of walking away in your own destination. So there's 3 cards already that are ruled by Saturn. The Devil, Saturn in Pisces, and we have the World, which is Saturn. So where's Saturn? Saturn's in your 5th house. And I didn't highlight this very well in the intro, in the astrology. But I was thinking about this before, so I'll mention it now since it came up. So Venus and Mars created that conjunction. That's the first thing we talked about in the astrology. Then they chase each other through the zodiac. And their 3 conjunctions end in Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. But what else is in Aquarius right now? Saturn's in Aquarius. And in the next 6 months, he's going to push ahead. He's still going to be in Aquarius. But Saturn in Aquarius in your 5th house is really to do with having a more serious goal at life. And this was my intuitive take on it before I did your reading, before we started today's session. And that was that Saturn in some way is removing from your life how you enjoy yourself in certain circumstances that in which you're not actually enjoying yourself. How you found yourself in relationships and patterns with other people that take away from you and your self-directedness. And so the only way that you can truly be receptive to so many people around you is if in some way you honor what you desire and what you want, right? And so Saturn's transit of your 5th house deals with that a lot, addressing and removing those things that are against your frequency or your needs. And so as Venus and Mars create this half zodiac cycle over the next 6 months, they're bringing with them joy and self-awareness of what you need. And so I think that this conjunction between Mars and Venus in your in your 11th house is channeling that information through your friendships and social connections. By the way, another point of Saturn is 11th house is ruled by Saturn in Aquarius, not in your chart, but in a standard chart it is. So that you're talking all about luck, opportunity, being structurally in the right place with the right people. And so here I feel like you're walking in your own direction, and I feel like you're confronting the issue with Capricorn, which is the devil. Capricorn is also ruled by Saturn, just the different frequency of Saturn. And I feel like for some of you, this is a financial pushback, which means that in some way you're pulling back money towards yourself. And especially if around the home or family, there's some kind of financial situation that it looks like a financial situation of some kind that keeps you from like hoarding money away from you. And this moon, just to remind you, the moon will be in Scorpio on the 17th and 18th. Emotional awareness, like, oh man, I'm losing space for myself. I'm being crowded out of my own life. Okay? Financially in the second house. And so you're having these realizations this week. So it's kind of, I could have easily called this like rude awakening, you know, like I'm really allowing my boundaries down and allowing others to have way too much space in things that are meant for me. And so therefore it's easy for you to walk away. Then we have the 9 of Rods. Again, I think that with wisdom, you walk away towards your own destination. So the Hermit is going in towards his path. And I think that the wisdom is the 9 of Rods. So, you know, it's with wisdom that you can recognize that a solitary path for your goals is better than trying to find appeasement towards someone hoarding your life energy, your life frequency. Then we have the Sun. That's good. I'm glad that came. It's a very good decision that you're making, Libra. And I really strongly felt that this reading would be very strong. We have the Death card, which is also the card of Scorpio. See, the end of a despot, a ruler, tyrant in your life holding your money down, and you're facing life with celebration. And maybe for some of you, periodically, for short periods of time, there may be like some financial worries or, you know, as you're switching gears, but ultimately there will be a good financial outcome. You just need to pull the plug on something that is crowding you out financially. And then we have the 2 of Pentacles, which is the fact that, you know, whenever we make a drastic change, it's not happening this week, but I think you're becoming aware of it. Whenever you're making a drastic change, there's going to be ups and downs, and you carry your energy forward. You know, you put some effort into it, Libra, and you'll have a wonderful time. And again, it comes with wisdom. You know from your past experiences that, like, you know, allowing other people to be the dictators of your life will not end well. And so a small sacrifice up front is necessary. And you're recognizing the tyrannical frequency. You're recognizing the frequency that's, you know, stifling you. And you have the freedom to choose about that. And that's why I think this week is super inspirational with this North Node Gemini, the Sun. It's you pushing back for your own terms in life, pushing back against the enemy, which is, the enemy is another reference point for the devil. But I was kind of joking, but maybe a little bit of that, but definitely I just feel like financially you're being like home becomes house and estate and all this kind of stuff. Like, you're being stifled financially. That's like the money is the culprit, you know. Somebody's wielding money as a weapon, you know, resources and something. And so I think your heart's opening up and you're like, well, I'm not actually, it's actually affected me to the point that I'm not fully living my possibilities that are truly within my heart. I'm just not fully living. And so that awareness wakes you up, it's a wake up call. Okay, so let's see your frequencies. So, okay. So Aries is very important. This whole reading for me, when I was doing like a little study of your chart before we began, started with Chiron and Aries in your 7th house. So just to remind you, and for those of you who are new to astrology, Chiron and Aries in the 7th house of partnership, right? Just all those things about partnership that stifle you and hold you back are going retrograde on the 15th for several months, and you get room to breathe. So you reassess partnership without no longer being pummeled by the consequences of past partnerships, the things that you struggle with self-identity and definition. So you're bringing your identity back. Other sign that's very important for you at this time is Libra. And again, the reminder is that this is when Mars and Venus enter Libra. That's when, I would say, if nothing changes by then you can kind of worry or think about it. But give yourself time to grow and expand in this energy. This week, feel that direction that you need to go. Feel the inspiration. And why are you not letting yourself have it? And what partnership aspects are holding you back from that? What commitments have stifled you from really pursuing you? And I think you need to do it. I tried to not tell people too much karmic stuff, like you should or you have to, but I think this is a pretty strong indicator that what comes up in your heart for yourself this week, you should pursue. Okay? So again, long reading, lots to say. I'll try to keep it shorter next time, but thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make the energy real, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Good luck. Bye.